Hi, I'm Father Joseph Mary, and welcome to our video series, Aska Capuchin. Our question today comes from someone with the label Pharaoh210. He or she asks, can God create a boulder so heavy that not even he can lift it? Now, at first glance, this may seem like a silly or pointless question. But quite recently, a writer published an article in the New York Times called A God Problem. And he tried to use this question to discount the idea of a morally perfect, all-powerful, all-knowing God. So let's look more deeply at the question, because it's basically an attempt to pit God against himself. Can God create a rock so heavy, even he himself can't lift it? Now, if we say yes, then we admit that God is not all-powerful. He can't lift the rock he created. If we say no, we likewise admit that God is not all-powerful. He's incapable of creating a rock so heavy that even he can't lift it. The question is really a problem of equivocation in the use of the term omnipotence. Omnipotence means all-powerful. But when we say that God is all-powerful, we don't mean that he can do literally everything. We mean that he can do everything literally possible in accordance with the logic of his divine nature. So God's power can bring forth creation out of nothingness, ex nihilo. God can walk on water. He can make a barren woman pregnant. All of these are in accordance with his omnipotent divine nature, with the logic of God, if you will. And so the question of whether God can create a rock so heavy he can't lift it, it throws logic out the window. It presupposes that omnipotence refers to a kind of all-powerfulness that is self-contradictory and illogical. It's basically asking, can God's infinite power overwhelm God's infinite power? Or could God beat himself up in a fist fight? These are illogical and self-contradictory. Remember that John, in John's Gospel, John refers to Jesus as the Word, or in Greek as the Logos. That he's the divine logic of God made incarnate. And he can do anything possible in accordance with his unlimited divine nature and logic. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Nonsense is still nonsense, even when we speak it about God." God is omnipotent when we use the term correctly, as meaning the unlimited power to make the possible actual. But he's not illogical, and he's not self-contradictory. I could talk about a square circle till I'm blue in the face, but I'll never give it a real meaning because it's illogical and contradictory. We have to remember that God transcends all of our images and concepts about him, including the words that we use to describe him. God's infinite, but our words and language are very limited. So can God create a rock so heavy he can't lift it? The basic answer is no, because God does not act contrary to the divine logic of his own divine nature. But when you draw me a square circle, I'll give you a more definitive answer. Until then, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment any questions you might have. I'm Father Joseph Mary, and thanks for watching Aska Capuchin.
Quam sit dispar exitus, fracto demum sacramento, ne vaciles sed memento.